I was just easing into my driveway after a grueling day at the office when I spotted the cop car idling by the neighborhood pond. My gut twisted like a knot. In our sleepy Maplewood estates, a police presence almost always spelled trouble courtesy of our HOA overlord, Susan Harrington. She had a knack for turning minor gripes into full-blown spectacles, and as I hustled over, her piercing voice was already slicing through the calm evening air like a chainsaw. There, on his worn bench with rod in hand, sat Harold Jenkins, the 78-year-old grandpa who'd been a fixture here forever. His calloused fingers gripped the pole steady, unfazed by the storm brewing around him. Susan loomed behind the officer, arms folded smugly over her tailored blazer, her HOA badge gleaming like a badge of honor. Her sharp brunette pixie cut bobbed with every dramatic gesture as she jabbed a finger at Harold. The cop, a rookie with that fresh-faced unease, shifted awkwardly while trying to talk sense into the old man. But what unfolded next would strip the HOA of over $2 million in prime waterfront real estate, exposing a web of arrogance and deceit that had everyone questioning if these neighborhood tyrants had gone too far. Let me rewind to how this mess ignited. Harold Jenkins had settled in Maplewood Estates back in 1992, when the place was mostly rolling fields and the pond was a local secret for anglers. His cozy ranch sat on 3 acres, the water lapping right up to his boundary line. For more than 3 decades, he'd strolled down at dawn, tackle box swinging, and cast his line in peace. Then Susan Harrington blew in 2 years ago, snatching up the gaudy mansion on Summit Lane. In 6 months, she'd clawed her way onto the HOA board. By year 1, she was Queen Bee, hell-bent on elevating our community into some snooty enclave. She started small, mandating uniform mailboxes, then a palette of drab tans and slates for house paint. Landscaping edicts followed, forcing everyone to manicure lawns like they were auditioning for a golf course. But her boldest power grab? Declaring the pond an exclusive HOA perk, complete with $50 monthly access passes. Was it about preservation, or just another way to squeeze residents dry while stroking her ego? That fateful morning kicked off routinely for Harold. He ambled to the pond at 7 a.m., coffee steaming in one hand, gear in the other. An hour in, Susan stormed down the path in her power suite on a Saturday, no less bellowing that pond privileges now required her stamp of approval and that hefty fee. Harold just grinned and kept fishing. That's when she snapped. My neighbor Lisa, out walking her mutt, caught the blow-up. Susan planted herself behind him, reciting bylaws like a drill sergeant. When he tuned her out, she vowed to have him hauled off for trespassing. Still no reaction? She whipped out her phone and punched 911, her voice dripping with entitlement. By the time I got there, a crowd had swelled half the block, phones rolling, fed up with Susan's reign of terror. We ringed the scene, murmuring about her endless fines and threats. The officer, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else, quizzed Harold on his residency. Harold nodded toward his house, peeking through the oaks. Turning to Susan, the cop asked for her side. She unleashed a polished rant on HOA supremacy and property rights, flapping a folder of official papers proving the pond was theirs, worth a cool $2 million. Her confidence swelled as she touted the value, like she owned it personally. The cop skimmed her docs, then asked Harold for proof. From his tackle box, the old man fished out a faded envelope, his 1992 deed. Tension crackled as the officer dialed the county records. Susan tapped her heel, smirking at us rebels as if we'd soon bow down. 3 agonizing minutes later, he hung up, throat clearing like thunder. The bomb dropped. A botched filing during the neighborhood setup left the pond in a public trust, not HOA hands. Harold's deed locked in his rights and possibly everyone else's. The HOA had been lording over land they didn't control, collecting bogus fees and fines for years. Was this incompetence or deliberate fraud to inflate property values? Susan's triumph melted into fury, her cheeks flushing as she demanded his boss. But the genie was out. Whispers raced through the group, folks pulling up the HOA site, tallying up extorted cash. Refunds, someone yelled. What about those phony fines? The queries piled on, Susan stammering. Within the hour, county brass rolled in. 2 no-frills officials who verified the screw-up and slapped a cease and desist on the spot. Stop all pond policing, cough up every dime collected, and brace for a full audit. The lead, Margaret Thompson, a tough-as-nails type, made Susan announce it publicly right there apologizing for the mix-up, while Harold casually reeled in a catch. The crowd erupted in cheers and jeers. Some even asked to borrow his spare rod. Susan's iron grip shattered in an instant, sparking debates. Should HOAs even exist if they bully like this? That night, the emergency board meeting imploded. 3 members quit, blasting Susan's reckless bullying. They lawyered up fast the verdict? Thousands in refunds owed, plus a $2 million hit to assets. Insurance probed her for negligence. And here's the kicker. Harold had flagged this months back, envelope in hand, offering to show records. Susan brushed him off as a relic resisting progress. Turns out, his kin owned the old farm. Developers in the 80s cut a deal keeping the pond public with family fishing perks intact. A clerical glitch never handed it to the HOA, yet Susan paraded it as theirs. Local news exploded. HOA boss 6 cops on elderly vet, forfeits $2 million prize. Harold's Vietnam service? She could have learned that with a chat, but Neurder's over empathy. Probes uncovered her harvesting $15,000 plus in sham fees, even borrowing against the pond for upgrades. Fraud. The state AG sniffed around, eyeing her real estate license for misrepresenting assets in loans and ads. Was she a visionary leader or a scam artist preying on trusting neighbors? The showdown peaked at the packed community hall a week later. Air thick with pent-up rage, residents unloaded. The widow dinged $500 for a wrong 10 mailbox. The disabled vet threatened over his ramp. The treasurers revealed $2M lost plus $800,000 in lawsuits drew gasps. Susan's defenses crumbled under the barrage. The vote booted 212-3. Then, sue her personally? 198-17 passed. Her face went ghostly as the lawyer outlined $300,000 plus in civil hits, plus potential $50,000 fine and 5 years behind bars for fraud. A heckler shouted the prison bit. Susan bolted, papers scattering, heels echoing as she sobbed to her luxury SUV. In the end, was Susan a victim of bad info, or did her ego blind her to the truth? Harold's quiet stand exposed how HOAs can crush the little guy, fueling calls for reform. But some whisper, without rules, chaos reigns. Whose side are you on?